Video on how to use our submersible camera. So this camera in the front has these white LEDs, and they're not infrared, they're white lights. This one also has a variable zoom lens, and this tells you the model number on it. It's a 1080p camera. You mount it onto something using this screw hole. We apply some sort of silicone to the rim here and to where the cable enters into this grommet to ensure that the camera is functioning for longer as much as we can. And please do not remove this seal, because doing so will void its warranty. Do not scrape that off. Any chemicals that you have, if this seal goes away, that means those chemicals were corrosive, and you don't want to use the camera in any chemicals that would do that. Please do not disassemble the camera, as it will void your warranty. The camera comes in this box, and then we include a power adapter that plugs to power the camera. And that power adapter goes and connects into this cable. I'll show you the cable assembly. Here's the cable coming out of the camera, goes into this loop. This is about 100 feet, and then it exits, and you have these three connectors. This connector here is what works with the remote. That has a little infrared sensor, and you don't want to get this wet. Getting this or any of these connections even wet will destroy the camera and render its warranty void. So you basically use a remote that we include in the box, and the only reason you include this remote is just for on and off. On turns the lights on, and off turns them off. None of the other buttons have anything to do with the camera. In fact, the zoom is controlled through the DVR, and you need to use a compatible HD DVR to use it. So again, do not get these connections wet. Make sure they're indoors or in a protected box, but of course you want to have them indoors next to the DVR here, like so that you can walk up to the DVR and turn the lights on and off. So how do you connect this camera? Well, this cable is the video. It's called the BNC female connector. This is a DC power jack. It uses 12 volts DC power, about 1 amps to 2 amps depending on how much if you have an extension on top of it or not. And then here is of course the IR sensor I just told you about for the remote to connect to wirelessly and work. If you're too far from this, the remote won't work. So what I do is I'm going to connect this connection to my BNC cable, and I already have one set up right here. So I've connected it to my BNC cable, which again comes back into my DVR's video input ports in the back. This DVR has video input ports in it. So there's a BNC here, the white cable. The green cable is a data connection. Those lights blinking on it tells me that it's connected to my router correctly. You want to have that connect to your router provided to your ISP. Nothing like a mesh device or anything like that. It has to go back to a router directly with a wire. And then the black cable in between the white and the green, it's my HDMI cable going to my monitor so I can have video. And then the last cable is my power supply. So the DVR is in fact is powered by a power supply of its own. The camera uses its own power supply. The cable comes through here, plugs into the cable that should be indoors and not outside, unless you know what you're doing. So cable should be indoors, connected to this power supply, which should be indoors as well. These things are not to get wet, including this cable assembly. Then you run your cable as far as you want to your pool or your pond, and then you put your camera in there. So now, the purpose of this video is to help you understand how to make the connections. Again, BNC for video connects to the DVR. The remote sensor that talks to the remote, and then the 12-volt power jack. Once you have these three connections made, power and video, then you will be able to see your camera. So I've got my camera here in my hand, and I'm just trying to show you that it works. So now I'm just going to put the camera there and show you how the lights work. So using this remote, all I'm going to do is just press the on button, the lights turn on, and press the off button. Lights turn off, on, off. That's all this remote does. If you want to control the zoom on the camera, you have to use a mouse with your DVR. So I've got a mouse in my hands that talks to my DVR. It's connected to the USB port in the front. And watch what I do. I do right click, and I go to PTZ. I log in. This is our default login password on the DVR, and then you hit zoom to zoom in and zoom out. So again, the lights are controlled by that little remote, and then the zoom is controlled by this. Now the camera needs a stationary point of view, a fixed view, to be able to focus correctly. If it doesn't focus correctly, you can use these manual adjustments to fine-tune your picture. If you click on this, it'll open up this menu. To exit this menu, you want to hit up and then hit plus again, and it'll exit. So again, you hit the iris by mistake, click up to go to exit, or you can keep pressing down until you get there, and then hit the iris plus again. Exits that menu. So I showed you how to do the zoom. I showed you how to do the lights. And the final thing, there are two last things I think I should show you is when you enter your DVR for the first time, you'll have a 4-grid view. If you want to select one camera, right click, view 1 and 1. If you want to see the second camera, view 1, channel 2. So what this does is you go to a view 1, which is one camera full screen. That's why it has a full square on there without anything like a quad view here. So one view, and then you select the channel number you want to watch, and then it shows you the channel number at the bottom, cam 2 in this case. If I go to view 1, it shows me back my camera and says cam 1 on the bottom. The last part which you'll want to know is how to put the battery in the remote. So in this one I already have the battery put in, and I definitely want to end this video with the most simplest part a lot of people get wrong is how to put this battery in. So the battery on the top has the battery model number on it and a plus sign. So with the remote's buttons facing away from you, this plus sign needs to be on the top, but it's printed side up, and it needs to be inserted. If you see this thing, it has a little edge to it and a battery holder. I'm going to put it down, put my battery on top. So this is what your battery holder should look like. Okay, the little edge on the top. Now, slide this into the remote. And you push it in, and that's it. Now you've got a remote that works. I'm gonna have it talk to my camera. Let me show you again. That's it. Again, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you found it useful.